19 minutes. I thought I was going to be dead a lot earlier, but Whiteside came back in the third quarter, had a monster third quarter, ended up with 35 points, which is decent. I should have went Booker over Bill, man. Bradley Beal let a lot of people down yesterday, but he's in a nice spot tonight for a good little bounce back. I don't think a lot of people will go back to the well, especially after being burnt so bad. There's a lot of recency bias when it comes to DFS. I try to always throw that out, man. It's a new matchup. That's why they call it daily fantasy. But yeah, man, hopefully y'all was able to get to the green line. Middleton ended up starting. Brogdon did not see extended minutes. Jason Terry, played a lot of minutes last night. So that game got out of control. But anyways, man, that's yesterday. We're not going to focus on that too much. I'm coming to you today with a brand new approach. I want to try some things out. Starting off with point guard, I want to run through the position, man. I'm gonna give you my top point guard and then my top value, and I'm gonna do that for every position, and I'm gonna kind of give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down on each player. So I got to be quick, man. I'm going to go ahead and run through it. At the top, we got Russell Westbrook, man, 11 racks. We don't fade Westbrook. If y'all been following me for a minute, y'all know that's one of the rules. And he's playing so hot right now. I think it's very sustainable. We've seen it all last year. So he's definitely my top point guard. I want to lock him in, man, straight up, off rip. If we have enough value, I think a lot of people will try to get there, but I don't think people will force him into a lineup. Moving down a little bit, Curry, I'm pretty sure he's going to play. Decent matchup. I won't be paying up for him, of course, because I got Westbrook. But I think he's a decent matchup. I don't want to get him right off this wrist injury, I believe. So I'm going to save him for another day. CP3 is in a wonderful spot. I love CP3. I might actually pay up for both of my point guard spots. There's not a ton when it comes to value, but I love CP3. Kyle Lowry, I would give him a thumbs up. Good matchup, 40-point floor. I think he's solid. Alfred Payton, if you plan on doing an Orlando and OKC game stack, I could see that. Triple-double upside every time. If Jeff Teague plays, I'm still not going to play him. I think he's overpriced in my opinion, so I'm going to stay away from that. Spencer Dinwiddie, I believe he's in a good spot going up against Dallas. Dallas struggles to slow down point guards. Mario Chalmers is questionable. Even if he plays, I'm not paying up for him, dude. That's too much for Chalmers, if you ask me. Dragic had a very disappointing game, but I think he's a solid cash game play if you're into that. I'm mainly GPP, so that's what I tend to focus on. He has a solid floor. Not a ton of upside, though. Ball, in tournaments, I can see running him out, man. If his shot is working, that man will crush his price tag. TJ McConnell, they did that because Simmons, they don't know if he's going to play, but he's too expensive. If Simmons is out, I will fire him up on DraftKings everywhere because he's dirt cheap. Collison, not my cup of tea. Reggie Jackson has a positive matchup. Not my type of player, though. Him and Ish Smith, they go back and forth. They played a hot hand too much for me. Dennis Smith Jr., I do believe he's in a pretty decent spot. Tyus Jones, if we get Teague out, he is an okay value play. Michael Carter-Williams should see a lot of ownership percentage. 5,200. I don't know if I'm going to fire him up, man, because I like a few other players out of that situation. So he's going to be a fade for me tonight. And once we get down here, not too much that I like. I would talk about Rondo once again for a cash game play. He's not seeing over 30 minutes, so tournament-wise, he's a little bit capped. Jared Jack, nah. Patty Mills, not really. Even though Memphis is giving up a ton of points to the point guard, so that's something to keep in mind. But I think they got Tony Parker back in the mix. Oh, what is Tony Parker? He might be a nice little all the way at the bottom. 14 minutes, man. I'm telling you. Never mind. He's only playing 15 minutes. I can't get behind that. But yeah, there's not really too much else I like down here. Ish Smith is one of those guys you can play every night, as well with Corey Joseph. The Mike James and Tyler Eulis, you got to pick your poison, man. They're going to go back and forth, sharing good games, so that's on you. I'm not paying down, though. If I had to choose two, I would say CP3 and Westbrook. I want to pay up at that position because we have value at a lot of other positions. At shooting guard, Jimbo, he too much for me, man. 12 racks is too much, and I'm paying up for Westbrook, so I'm going to fade on him. Victor Oladipo, if he plays, I think he's in a good spot. Bradley Beal is in an amazing spot going up against J.J. Redick defense. Coming off a disappointing game, I think a lot of people will be off the train, but I think he's in an excellent spot. Tyreek Evans, if we get Chalmers out, he could be in line for more usage, so I think he's okay. He'll have to do a lot for that game to stay competitive. Klay Thompson, if we get either Durant or Curry out, his usage will go up. DeMar DeRozan, if he plays, he's too cheap, man. You can plug him in. D-Book, I'm going to be off of him, man. He's a light-skinned assassin, one of my favorite players, but it's a tough matchup. Avery Bradley is no slouch, but if Booker gets it rolling, it's hard to slow that man down. Wiggins is going to be a pass for me. I really don't like that Minnesota and New Orleans game, not unless I'm paying up for Boogie or AD. And I also like a little bit of Jimmy Butler, but I'm not sure if he'll make the cut either. But Drew Holiday, same thing, man. I think these are decent plays. I think their price is just a little too high, especially on a slate like this. Jeremy Lamb, I think he's too expensive for me. Caldwell Pope, you can play him every single night, man. He is super consistent. He gets the minutes. He sees the shots. Same thing with Tim Hardaway. No Whiteside tonight, so Dion Waiters' usage should go up a tad bit. My favorite play at shooting guard is Nicholas Batum. With no Kemba Walker, I think the offense runs through his hands just a little more. Michael Carter-Williams is an okay playmaker, but he's not the type who's going to take a ton of shots. So I look for Nicholas Batum to have a pretty big game. On the opposite end of Booker, I do like Avery Bradley. I think he's in a decent spot. 5,300 is pretty cheap. Once we get down to the mid-tier, man, Jordan Clarkson, Wes Matthews, they're both in play. Up-pace matchups. We know Wes Matthews is going to see the minutes. Clarkson, if he sees enough minutes, he can crush. LeVert, only if Crabbe is out. Eric Gordon is too cheap at 4,800. I could get behind him. J.J. Barea, Norman Powell. I like both of those guys. If we get news that DeRozan is out, Norman Powell becomes a very valid value play, man. I think he will be in line for a ton of minutes and a ton of shots. Besides those guys, I got one more value play for you. And my value that I will have in a ton of my lineups, and well, I say a ton of my lineups, in my lineup is going to be Malik Monk. I want to plug him in. We know he'll see the backup minutes today. At 3,500, I can get behind that, man. All we need is 20 points to go 6x. I can definitely get behind that. If he starts to get hot, he will take away from Michael Carter's production and he'll stay in the game. So I really like him at bare minimum. Moving on to small forward, KD, if you want to pay up, feel free. I don't think I want to touch him coming off the injury. That's if he plays. But one thing I will say, he's the type of player who, if he's on the court for 25 plus minutes, he can definitely go off for a 40-piece, man. So, I think the cap or the upside is a little bit limited, but he is a solid play. Paul George, I think he's in a decent situation going up against Orlando. That's probably my favorite game on the slate, man. I love this OKC and Orlando game. A ton of good options out of that one. Jimmy Buckets, I was talking about him. I do feel like he's in a good position. New Orleans, they try to run this 3-guard set. They don't really have a small forward, so they struggle guarding the wings. Otto Porter is my favorite small forward play. I want to lock him in. Going up against Philly with with John Wall out. Otto Porter's usage is in the 28 range, 30 range. That is a big deal, man, and he's severely underpriced for that type of usage. TJ Warren, I do believe he's in a pretty decent spot. Battling with Tobias Harris, man, I think he can get it done. Harrison Barnes, I think he's in an up-paced matchup, decent play. Bobby Cove lost his cousin, man. I want to send prayers and shout-outs to him and his family. I think that's why he was struggling that last game. He found out before the game. Maybe, this game he tries to dedicate that to his loved one. And maybe he has a really good game. That's going a little bit down narrative streak. But if I'm looking at it from just a strictly DFS perspective, he still is in an okay matchup. Kyle Anderson, he's a no for me. He's too expensive. Brandon Ingram, you could fire him up. Stevenson, only if Depot sits at that price tag. He's too high, to play the bench role. I don't like that. Evan Fournier, I do like him at 5,200. Trevor Ariza is okay. Gilchrist, if he scores, he can do it, but that's not my type of player, man. That's not my type of player. He don't have enough upside. Courtney Lee is okay. Not a huge fan. Brooks, I do believe if Chalmers is out, he will get a bump in my book as far as value plays. I think he's very decent. My second favorite small forward would have to be Jonathan Simmons. In that starting unit, I think it clears up a lot of space for him, and I think he can actually score more points with this starting unit, man. A hustler type of guy. We know he's going to get steals, force turnovers, but he'll have a difficult matchup tonight with either Paul George or I don't know. See, I don't know how they're going to do the matchups. I don't know if he'll be on Paul George or if they'll put him on Westbrook, man, because he's one of those defensive type of minded players. So we'll have to see, but I do like his price tag at 4,600 in the starting lineup. Kelly Oubre, I think we can look at him. Same thing with Bogdanovich. Caspi is a no, only if Durant is out. I could see it. Joe Harris is a no for me. PJ Tucker, I would say nah. Let's see if I got any more value plays, man. Value. I know for sure if we get news that DeRozan is out, OG and CJ Miles, where is he at? I think he plays small forward. There you go. I know he just had a baby. I think he'll be back, man. I'm assuming. But if we get news that DeRozan is out, Norman Powell, OG, and CJ Miles will eat up those minutes and shots. So we could look for one of those guys to go off. Moving on to power forward, Ant Davis. If you want to pay up, feel free. Same thing with Simmons. He's matchup proof. Porzingis should have a pretty decent night with no Whiteside bothering him. 8,900. That's a bit much though, especially in a slower pace type matchup. LA is always in play, but my favorite play from power forward is going to be Draymond Green, Mr. Do-It-All. And regardless of who's in, who's out, his role does not change. And I think he can take advantage of a young Lakers team forcing turnovers. And I even think he can score on a lot of these bigs for LA. So I really like him. Gordon is in a decent spot. Tobias Harris, I like him. Sabonis is too much for my blood. I like Melo. I think he's in an excellent spot. Jeff Green is too much. Thad Young is decent. James Johnson with no Whiteside is in play, man. He's in play, like straight up. I think he's an excellent play tonight. Saric is a no for me. Morris is a no. Dirk Nowitzki, he doesn't play enough minutes, but he's been balling. Siakam is too expensive. No Beasley. Taj Gibson is okay. Kuzma, Nance, and Randall are all no's for me just because I'm not sure who's going to, see the most consistent minutes. I don't want to pay $5,000 for somebody who could potentially get 19 or 20 minutes. Booker, I think he's in play. I don't think Jefferson is going to play tonight. Ryan Anderson is okay. I'm going right back to the well with Kelly Olynyk. He is one of my top value plays. I'm just a little upset because we'll get more people on Kelly Olynyk tonight. Maybe not because he let so many people down. But I really love Kelly Olynyk tonight. And I think that's pretty much going to do it for power forward. Moving on to center. We got Boogie Cousins. I'm paying all the way down for center. I'm telling y'all right now. Boogie, I think he's in play once again. Embiid, I think he's decent. Washington is pretty tough when it comes to defending bigs, though. Drummond, I think he'll be the most popular center. Gasol is okay. Vucevic. Clint Capella is in a very, very good situation. Same with Dwight. Same with Miles Turner. Steven Adams is okay. I really love that game, y'all. in this range is nothing much, man. So I'm going to go all the way down to Bam. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Adewobi, whatever, this guy, man. I know he had a monster game yesterday, but I watched the game. He looked very athletic. He can do a lot, it seems like, man. And at 3,500, no Whiteside. Kelly Olynyk is not a physical type of player. This guy is. I want to plug him in. I'm completely punting at center with this guy, Bam. I don't even